I had no fucking idea it was her anniversary. So the dream knew. And for me personally, that brings into question, was I actually with her energy, her, in the dream space, her soul? And her soul was, communicating, it's my anniversary. Or was it just, say, a premonition that my soul could figure out in the dream space? What is reality really made of? I am your host, Carla, and welcome to Cosmic Batter, the podcast where we explore stories of the unknown and my experience of becoming psychic. This is for anyone who realizes that there is so much more to the human existence. Hello, welcome back to the Cosmic Batter podcast. So yesterday I recorded the first episode. It was so much fun. I loved it. But wow, did I have a vulnerability hangover afterwards. And I wasn't expecting it. I was really hoping to get the first few episodes done in a day because I'm putting a lot of effort into this podcast, more than I've ever put into a podcast before. And I wanted to have, episodes ready to share with you as I, build up to the launch date, which is when you will actually be listening to this. But I finished the first episode and I just lay down and I pretty much couldn't get up again. And I was like, wow, why am I having such an intense vulnerability hangover? And it just made me reflect on how much of my life I have been toning down this part of myself, right? So many examples came up in my head where I would talk about something that interests me and the other person wouldn't get it. And I would quickly change the topic so as not to come across as really weird or to feel misunderstood. So that kind of brings me to something else I wanted to talk about today, which is, why is this podcast important and who is it for? And first of all, who is it for? It's obviously for anybody that resonates with this, but I think it's actually going to be people, like myself, who are feeling a little bit different, or like other people don't fully understand them and why. And maybe you're getting messages and messages as in something's happening in your life, or you can tell that the universe is trying to guide you in some way and you don't know how to interpret it. Or maybe you're trying to figure out your purpose or why you're here, or, maybe you have a job, but you know that you're meant for something else. I'm really hoping that by sharing my experiences and what they could possibly mean, the meaning's always going to be open, you can start to apply that to your own life. I mean, more than anything, and I think I said this in the first episode, I literally just want this to be a storytelling podcast. So it's going to be about spiritual experiences and my experiences and my friends and whatever comes up. I just want this to be just so human and relaxed and conversational. I want to invite you into the conversations that I'm having. But if it helps you in some way, that's who it's for, I guess. And I think that there's going to be a lot of people that do resonate with that. And I think that there's going to be a lot of listeners who would, this might sound weird, but they would just consider themselves normal people. And then they're going to start listening to this and be like, wait, that's happening to me. Or that's happened to someone that I know. And this is important because it affects the whole human existence. And I think I said this in the first episode as well. We are going through a collective awakening. Our consciousness is rising. And it's important that we know that it's okay to be having this experience. It's actually a beautiful thing, and to navigate the space. Because if I'm someone that's been experiencing this my whole life, I know now, I'm really conscious of it now, And it's always been fun to me, and I'm surrounded by other people who are psychics and intuitives and mediums and mentors and coaches and healers as well. Like, I really believe those things go hand in hand. I'm actually surrounded by these people, so I'm very comfortable with it. And I had a major vulnerability hangover yesterday. And I asked myself, are people going to think I'm crazy? Are they going to be angry at me for what I say? And I just found that interesting. Obviously, I was just tired, and these things happen when we're tired, so that's okay. But I found it interesting that those thoughts are within myself, because I also think it's very common. Everybody knows somebody with a ghost story, for example. Everybody knows somebody who's had this like crazy coincidence happen in their life where, say, they needed $1,000 and all of a sudden they won $1,000. Like, my experiences are not unique. It's super common. However, I still felt incredibly vulnerable talking about this stuff openly. So my point is, if I feel that way and I'm surrounded by psychics, imagine how the quote unquote like normal person is going to feel when they start having similar experiences. Because there is a lot of shame and judgment, and the word crazy. People are very afraid of that. And from there, I also think a lot of mental illnesses are very misunderstood. Even physical illnesses. I thought of like a really good, a classic example of the physical connected to the metaphysical is you might get a throat infection, and it's not actually because you're, say, run down or sick, but more because you want to say something and you're not saying it. So the physical and the metaphysical are deeply connected, and they affect each other. Of course, there will be times where you literally just get sick and there's not necessarily a meaning behind it. But I believe that there often is. And this is why this is important, to make sense of these things. In my last podcast, the Carla Herschel podcast, I had a friend on, Mark, and when he went through his spiritual awakening, he did actually get put in a mental health ward, like a mental health unit. And that the thought of that would definitely scare people. So if you are having visions or messages, like, we are spiritual beings and we are here having a spiritual experience. So it's important that we know how to navigate this so that we can stay grounded while accessing who we really are, which is we are multidimensional beings. We all have dreams, maybe even if you don't remember them. So for example, everybody knows that dreams are normal, totally normal. So, and it's a part of the human experience. It's the same thing. It's all the same. So this is why these conversations are important. And I believe why I'm being asked to fully open up about this. And also, it's just fucking fun. I love these types of things. I love these types of stories. As you can tell, because I can just talk about it all day. Okay, and another thing, I've got a couple of notes here. Another thing, we are creator beings. And I also think this podcast is important. So not only to be grounded in our own experiences and learn how to accept them and be open to them, but also to use it to your advantage, like to get the most out of your life. Like I said in the last episode, we create our own reality to a degree. You know, I'm now experiencing really the guidance of the universe, but we are still creator beings. So how can you start to tap into your own potential and have more fun in your life? Like where I'm at currently, being able, like, I've got essentially some passive income coming in right now from my past business. and I'm able to just creatively express myself and make this podcast from a place of pure love, joy, creativity. And yes, from the physical perspective, I'm in this position because of all the hard work that I did before. That is true. However, I'm also in this position because from the metaphysical perspective, I consciously created this experience. Okay, and I think I waffled on about my journey enough in the last episode, but you are also a creative being, and you can also create whatever experience you want that feels fun to you. Okay, the word joy is a really key word for me. Figuring out what brings me joy, that's usually where I go. There might be a different word for you, like fun, play, happiness, peace, that is your sort of key word, and that's the type of experience you want to create. Okay, so this is why this podcast is important. Now, let me have a drink. And probably take a breath. I've just had my strong coffee, so I'm probably talking very fast. Today I wanted to tell you a little bit about dreams and why dreams are important as well. And I have a million and one dreams that I could tell you about, but I was like, what actually has purpose in being shared? And then I remembered this one specific memory that I think is very funny that I would like to share with you. Now, this is an actual memory in my waking life. I was talking to this guy, I think we were at some kind of dinner or something, talking to this guy. He was really lovely, and he just said, "What have you been doing recently?" And I said to him, and again, this is in waking life, this is real. And I said to him, "Well, you know lucid dreaming?" Now, he didn't know. So I said, lucid dreaming is when you wake up in your dream, so you become conscious that you're dreaming. And then you can change the dream space. You can change the location. You can call objects into the dream or people. You can fly. All you have to do is imagine it and it just appears. That's lucid dreaming. I am not yet able to do it whenever I want, but I've done it before. And I said, so recently what I've been thinking about is, we don't actually know what the dream state is, if it's when we're asleep or if it's our waking reality. If this is actually the dream and when we're dreaming, perhaps that's, where we come from, or that's more real or whatever. Because I've heard things that suggest that the dream state is more real. Anyway, so I said, so because of that thought, I have been trying to apply the principles of lucid dreaming to waking reality. And essentially it's just manifestation, right? So if you're lucid dreaming and you want to go somewhere, you just imagine that you're there and then you're there. And we talk about manifestation in the waking world, like in physical reality. Where, if you want something, you sort of visualize it and you make a plan and you figure out, you start acting like the person as if it's already happened. Obviously there's more to it, but that's it in a nutshell. So I said, yeah, I've just been playing with that idea, and that if I want something, I can just have it in the physical reality and it doesn't need to be any different to dreaming. And he was like, right. Okay. And I was like, what part of that didn't make sense? Why? I feel like I fried his circuits. Like it. See, and I told my mum this story like this morning, and she was like, Carla, some people aren't open to that. And to me, it was just a normal story. Like, it was just a normal conversation. Also, I feel like, I have to say, when I was having this conversation with him, I definitely used simpler terms. I'm sort of over-explaining it here, I guess, to make sure that it makes sense. But his reaction was very funny. Anyway, but this is why This is why it's important to talk about, because there is so much truth to what I said, even though it's very weird. Perhaps our reality, we don't know. We don't know what it is. We don't know where we come from. We don't know if we live in a hologram. We don't know if Earth is all there is. Well, I'm certain that it's not. We all dream. We don't know what's going on there. Whatever. But like I said, we know about manifestation in this literal reality. It's real. And even if you want to call it manifestation or just hard work, what difference does the label make? If you want something and you work really hard, you can get there. Or like do the work, doesn't have to be hard. So that's manifestation. That's creating your experience. That is being a creator being. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you call it. So even if you don't believe me, in terms of maybe you don't believe in manifestation, but you might believe in like, well, if I work really hard, I might get some things in my life. Same diff. Same, but different. Okay, so this is where you can start to, what's the word? Like, utilize your dreams, your literal sleeping dreams. They hold so much valuable information. And like what makes a dream not real? We often just brush them off as being meaningless, random brain circuits going off. That's another thing that we don't actually know. Like, okay, maybe dreams have no meaning, or maybe they hold infinite meanings or powerful meanings. Prove to me either one. Prove to me that it does matter. Prove to me that it doesn't matter. We don't actually know. Okay, I am obviously of the belief that they do matter. And if your dreams are a part of your life, are they not a part of your experience? Right? I'm like, is there any other way to explain that? And yeah, okay, when you're dreaming, it's not your physical body from this reality, but it's your consciousness. It's a part of your conscious experience. So why as a society do we often say that they're irrelevant? Anyway, you get me. So I'm going to tell you about some times that, well, I've got two examples for you today because I wanted to try and get this episode a bit shorter, where dreams have been incredibly valuable to me. Okay. The first one. This one, for context, in my waking life, in my reality, I've spoken about this a lot on my other podcast. I had a group of friends who were really beautiful people. I want that to be so clear. And my life was going really well. I was doing well in my business. At this point, I was also really starting to accept spirituality and like, what does this mean? And like asking more questions there. But for some reason, I didn't feel good. And it was a very confusing experience because I was like, things in my life were going well, but why do I feel this way? I feel like I don't really fit in. Something's changed. And I couldn't figure out what it was. Okay. And then I had a dream where the specific part I want to share is I was on a boat, and this obviously boat was on water. Water in dreams always represents emotion. So water is emotions. So I was in the ocean, and I was in the boat with a few people, and I looked down, and these sharks start circling our boat, and there was there was quite a few. And I looked over and I didn't necessarily feel scared, but just like, whoa, that's a lot of sharks. And the next thing I know, I'm in the water, swimming with the sharks. And they didn't attack me or anything, but there was this intense feeling of obviously being in the wrong place. And that was the dream. And I woke up, well, actually, more. I ended up like swimming to shore. I'll tell this part as well. I ended up swimming to shore, and then I was with a friend, and this friend that I was with, I said, hey, we were going to get dinner in the dream. I said, hey, it's your anniversary, so you go and be with your partner. I'm going to eat by myself, like go and have fun with your partner. And then I sat down and I ate with a random dream person. And then I also found my passport also in the ocean, underwater. I know it seems jagged, but this is me like compressing it. So the dream, swimming with sharks. Then this is all the same dream. Then I was with a friend and it was her anniversary. I said, go and enjoy your anniversary in the dream. And then I had dinner and then I found my passport under some water. I woke up, wrote this down. First of all, I immediately knew in my waking life that I felt like I was swimming with sharks. And I realized, and this is something that I was not consciously aware of before because I didn't want to accept it, I believe. I didn't want to face this. So it was suppressed. I realized, like, with the group of friends that I was with at that time of my life, that I didn't actually feel accepted. I felt like they weren't interested in the parts of my life that were going well because my life was starting to take off. I was becoming a lot more successful. And I had slowly stopped sharing parts of myself with them. And like I said a moment ago, it was a very weird time in my life because I was living with people that I loved, and my life was like going really well, but I felt awful and I just couldn't figure it out. And I want to be clear as well that this is nobody's fault. I don't have any blame on these individuals, but I just realized through that dream, this is not working anymore. I'm not feeling myself here. That was one part of it. The next part, being with a different friend entirely in this dream and telling her it's your anniversary, go and enjoy it. I messaged her. No, sorry. I went on Instagram and I saw she had just received flowers from her partner for her anniversary. I had no fucking idea it was her anniversary. So the dream knew. And for me personally, that brings into question, was I actually with her energy, her, in the dream space, her soul? And her soul was, communicating, it's my anniversary. Or was it just, say, a premonition that my soul could figure out in the dream space? Whatever where it came from and the meaning doesn't matter so much, but that proves to me that we have access to something greater than us. I had no idea it was her anniversary. I don't record things like that. And I'm also just not very good with birthdays. And the third part of this dream, very detailed dream, I had dinner with someone, a dream character, and then I found my passport underwater. Obviously, passport relates to travel. And I ended up moving out of that house and then going over time, like over the next year and a half, I went on several solo road trips. And it was a very deep soul calling for me when I went on these road trips. I knew I was completely breaking the habit of being my old self. I knew I was getting out of my comfort zone. I knew I was going to encounter challenges that were incredibly important for my soul journey. I knew the universe would support me, even though I was often fucking scared when I went on these road trips because I didn't have like a proper plan or anything. Um, and how did the dream have these things in it, you know? So that's one example. And this is where, you know, I want you to start paying attention to your dreams if you're open to it. The next example that I have of another time that I kind of got a message, it was probably at a similar time to this other dream that I just mentioned, where parts of my life were like quite suddenly changing. Right. Like I said, sorry, I'm just registering again that this is really vulnerable for me. Like I said just before, I was breaking the habit of being myself. So prior to this massive, you know, spiritual awakening and life-altering period that I went through, I had had the same group of friends for a very long time. I loved them dearly. We used to have a lot of fun together. It was painful to admit that that was starting to change. I'm going to be honest and say that before, the years before that, I had been partying a lot with these people, using, well, I want to say recreational drugs, like doing it recreationally. So there was a lot of history there. And I can say now, related to like hard parts of my life, lots of trauma bonding, you know, and you build an identity with that. Gosh, it's like ugh, hard. And this stuff is all related. So it was just for me to be, at the time I was pursuing my business, I had coaches, I was starting to make sense of my life, to build a better life, to dream bigger, to realize I was worth more. I had stopped taking drugs a few years before, feeling like I didn't fit in with my friends anymore. There was a lot of things that were really hard to admit. And anyway, this next dream that I had that I'll share. I was in a car and I was on the passenger seat. We'll go through the meaning in a moment. I was in a car, I was in the passenger seat, and we were driving along this road, and it was very dark, and the road was near like a cliff edge. So it just felt dangerous. Excuse me. And after the cliff edge, there was water, emotions again. And it was, there were like lots of waves. It was like quite chaotic. The sky was like really dark and bleak. And looking out the car window as we're driving, some stranger is driving. And there was this huge bridge, and it was old. And this bridge, I mean, it was like the size of the Eiffel Tower. Like it was very, very big, very, very tall. I obviously don't know what it was connected to, you know, it was like infinite. And it was very old, and it was built of bricks, and it was starting to crumble. And I'm watching it, and this scene is so dark. And then this bridge, some of the bricks start to fall down. And I'm like, oh my God, that bridge is going to collapse. And it's so big, like towering up. And this bridge starts collapsing. The bricks start falling down. I'm just remembering it now. They're falling into the water. It's so chaotic. And I don't know what caused it to start crumbling, but it fully breaks. The middle completely splits open and it falls into the water. And, you know, there's water like splashing everywhere. And it was just ominous. very ominous, and like I can see it so clearly even now. Okay, I wake up, I write it down. What does it mean? And again, like these are open to interpretation, but this is, based on my own research and what it means to me. First of all, if a car, and usually almost any form of transport, but a car really represents the direction of your life. And if you're driving the car, that means that you feel in control. And I was not in this dream. I was a passenger. So I did not feel in control of my life and where it was going in that moment. The bridge represents like two different parts of your life. And the bridge collapsing, essentially it's like the crumbling. And it's actually a good thing. It's actually a positive omen. Because it means that you're letting go of the past and moving on to like a new future. Like they're not as connected anymore, I suppose. And like I said, the visuals as well, it was a very old bridge. And when I look back, like I said, on this part of my life now, I had actually been outgrowing my old identity for some time. I had been receiving coaching for some time. Prior to that, being a personal trainer, I had really been working on my health for some time. And I had just been investing into myself and wanting a better life for ages, really. And, it's just interesting because when this sort of collapse happened in my life, in my physical waking reality, it felt sudden for everyone involved, for me and the friends that I had at the time. But I look back and I'm like, I was trying to change for ages, for years. And it's funny that it felt so sudden, but really when you look back, I had been starting to speak out about certain things and not participate in certain things and all of that for actually a long time. So anyway, it's just interesting. And so having that bridge dream, when I deconstructed what I believed it meant, it was like amazing to know it's going to be okay. Like things are changing and that's good. Even though it was hard, it was a really hard time in my life, like to know it's okay. A new phase is coming. And I had been working so hard to achieve this. It was like, yes, like that change, the change in person that I want to see. And I feel changing as a person requires great courage, ownership, responsibility. Like changing your own patterns and your life takes a lot of courage. Ultimately, it's the easier thing to do in the long run, but not everybody does it. It is hard work. So this is where like our dreams can be really meaningful. Okay, and I'm going to give you one more today because I just think this one's fun. I'm actually going to read it to you from my phone because it's short, I promise. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe you want a really long one. Okay, this one is from another dimension. Yeah, okay, this one's fun. Okay. I got out of bed and I went to get the water off of my bedside table. I noticed that the water was flipping between a water bottle and a bottle of sparkles. This bottle of sparkles had been in my dream earlier. I put my feet on the carpet and I noticed that there were some gaping holes in the carpet. I put my face down to inspect closer and I saw that the carpet was actually grass and it was like somebody had run through and chopped up a piece of the grass or soil. Like if you were playing a football game and stopping and starting quickly and your feet are like chopping up the grass in that way. I knew that it wasn't in my normal earth dimension. I looked to my bedside table and saw my things flipping between the two realities, with one being almost like fairies. I this is a spelling mistake here. I think it's I aim to get out of bed to explore, but I get to my bedroom door and then I start to wake up in my regular reality. Now, I don't know if that was the same dream because I have another memory coming to mind of a time that I woke up in a dream and I was in my normal bedroom, similar to the one that I just shared. But I looked down past my bedside table and it was like, boof, like I could see straight down. There was no floor and it was all colors, like when you look inside like a kaleidoscope, or those images that people make of when they hallucinate, or like other dimensions and there's all colors and things and nothing really has a beginning or an ending. And I looked down past my bed and I saw that and I was like, oh, this is not my dimension. I've woken up in the wrong place. And I just went back to sleep and then I woke up in this earth dimension. Now, I want to share that because the first two dreams that I told you about, they were obviously like subconscious processing. Although I got, say, like signs and premonitions, it was related to my waking day reality and that's it, right? And then I wanted to share these other ones because I've had these experiences of waking up and being like, this is not my dimension. I am actually somewhere else. And there are more. There are times where I've woken up and it's been a past life. There's times where I've had false awakenings. There's obviously been times where I've had lucid dreams, and we're going to get into all of that. As I said earlier, I have no mastery of these things. I'm almost surprised to even be talking about it and be like, wow, I actually know quite a bit, and I've just been doing this whole time. So I invite you to start paying attention to your dreams because it is a relevant part of your life right now. It is a part of your experience right now. And raising your awareness or consciousness in the dream state is also going to raise your awareness and consciousness in the waking state. And again, we don't actually really know which one's which, but your consciousness is a part of all of it. So I encourage you to have fun with it. It's honestly fun. I believe these stories that I have of waking up and seeing these things and being like, wow, I'm in another dimension. That's fucking cool. That's so cool. We can like have these cool other memories when we're sleeping. And I'm the best sleeper. So it will still rejuvenate you. I guess I should give you then a couple of tips if you want to dream more. First of all, just ask. This is a big thing. And this is also like, just like literally just vocalize what you want. Manifestation, hey, or whatever you want to call it. Say to yourself, I would like to dream more. I am open to dreaming more. I am ready to dream more. And give it some relevance, because if your brain or if you think that dreams have zero relevance, why would you remember them? Like, it's not relevant. But if you say, okay, I actually think it is relevant and important, your brain will know that, and it will start then to remember things. The next best thing you could ever do is have a notepad or possibly your phone next to your bed to write down whatever you dream. Phone is good because you can go to notes and just put on voice record and just say what you dreamed. I find that the best because I don't have to fully wake up. Obviously, once you fully wake up, sometimes you can actually forget what it was. But the downside of that is obviously you have your phone next to you in bed, which we're not supposed to do. But you can have a pen and paper. And even if you just write down, if you wake up and you realize you were just having a dream, just write down a few keywords. Like, if I use the earlier example, I would write like swimming with sharks, passport. Even those handful of keywords will probably be enough to jog your memory once you do actually wake up. But even just having the pen and paper by your bed is going to make a difference. You also won't dream every single night don't worry about it. Like I said, I know how to lucid dream, how to consciously wake up in the dream. And it hasn't happened to me for ages. I probably haven't done it for like 4 or 5 months. And I would love to. But we just don't know when we're going to dream. We don't know when we're going to wake up in the dream. There are so many more like tips and tricks, which you can Google if you want. But okay, so I hope that today's episode was fun. And if you guys have had like some crazy dreams, honestly, tell me. Like, drop a comment on, I don't know, a video or something. I would love to know. And this reminds me, I have some guests organized to come on so we can have just the deep conversations that I love about all these things. And I think we should have a segment. Like, every time I have a guest on, we should ask them, what's the craziest dream you've ever had? Or maybe we could ask them, I don't know, we could ask them, have you been contacted by aliens and what happened? If you have an idea for a segment, something that would be fun that we can do for every guest, please send me a message. Let me know. I would love to hear your ideas. And yeah, I think that's all for now. So have fun dreaming, and we'll talk again in the next episode. Mwah!